Today's dog trainer is very angry. Just now, this little dog actually targeted its attack on a 1-year-old baby. Fortunately, the dog trainer is keenly observant. He quickly pulled the dog up and got bitten hard on his hand. In just a few seconds, the trainer's hand started to bruise extensively. One can imagine the consequences if the bite had been on the child. However, when the dog trainer asked the female owner, who is more important, the child or the dog, the woman hesitated.
우리 아들하고 이 친구가 둘이 있는데 누가 더 소중해요?
한 명만 선택해야 돼.
보호자님, 고민하시면 안 돼.
According to the female owner's introduction, when she was pregnant, she had the idea of adopting a puppy. She believed that growing up with a dog's companionship would help the baby's emotional development and also instill a sense of responsibility in the child. Shortly after the child was born, the couple, amidst a group of puppies, chose a little dog named Yudi because it appeared much more well-behaved than the other dogs, but they didn't know that this breed of dog is naturally very jealous. The adopted dog was initially adorable, and everything seemed normal. But after the child started walking, the dog's temperament suddenly changed. Whenever the child approached it, the dog would growl and even suddenly roar at the baby. The naive mother thought they were just playing around until she unintentionally recorded this video.
깜짝이야.
Only then did she realize that the dog was not as gentle as she imagined. As time passed, the dog's aggression towards the child grew. In a terrifying incident where the dog and the child fought over a toy, as the baby pulled back his hand, the dog suddenly bit down. Although the bite wasn't very strong, the baby's hand was injured. Now the female owner is also physically and mentally exhausted. Every day, she not only has to take care of the baby and the puppy, but also clean the house and prepare 3 meals a day. The mother-in-law is well aware of her daughter-in-law's difficulties and takes the time to come and help her share the housework and take care of the child. But this dog is really causing a lot of trouble. When the baby doesn't sleep, the dog obediently lies quietly at the door. As soon as the grandma lulls the baby to sleep, it starts screaming. It never stops until the child is awake. Seeing the baby crying loudly, it calmly lies down on its own sleeping mat, as if completing its mission. Grandma, holding the baby in her arms, can't help but wipe away tears. She can't scold or beat this dog because she knows how much her daughter-in-law spoils it. Besides, she sees how hard her daughter-in-law works every day. All she can do is pray that the dog's issues can be resolved soon. The female owner has also sought help from the program several times, and finally, the dog trainer noticed the message. He knows the urgency of the child's safety and urgently helps the female owner train the dog. As soon as the dog trainer enters, the dog keeps barking at him. The trainer instructs the female owner to raise the leash. When the dog stopped barking, the female owner released the leash from her hand. After entering the house, the controlled dog, clearly unhappy, hides behind the female owner and stares straight at the child. The trainer immediately senses the danger. He knows exactly what the dog is about to do.
저런 친구들이 간혹 스트레스의 전이라 그래서 그 순간 그걸 풀기 위해서 가장 약한 대상한테 물어요. 애기를 물까봐 걱정이에요.
The trainer is truly furious, and there is some emotion when he intervenes. Startled, the dog turns and bites his hand. The controlled dog on the ground keeps whimpering, and the trainer's bitten area is bleeding. Bruises start appearing, including on his fingers. At this moment, the baby suddenly crawls over. The trainer lifts the dog again, and considering the child's safety, the grandma has to take the baby and hide inside.
사람 봐가면서 달려들어야지. 너 아무한테나 그렇게 달려들고 그러면 안 돼.
The trainer informs the female owner that it's because she always indulged the dog, never knowing how to stop it. That led to the dog's arrogant behavior. Fortunately, today, it bit him. If it had bitten the child, it would have been a big problem. The female owner then mentioned that she is usually busy taking care of the child, and the dog always looks pitiful on the side. She can't bear to be tough on the dog and everything, so she often accommodates it. The dog trainer says that from now on, the female owner needs to change her attitude. The safety of the baby is the top priority. In this household, the owner should be the leader, and no matter when, the dog should always be at the bottom. After that, the dog trainer began the training. Seeing the trainer suddenly stand up, the dog started roaring again. At this point, the trainer instructed the female owner to block the dog. Using any means necessary, she had to push it away. Then, the trainer applied spatial pressure on the dog and conveyed that in this home, who makes the decisions.
여기 내 집이야.
한 발짝 가까이 가세요. 물러나.
물러나.
After being disciplined, the dog seemed a bit bewildered. It looked at its owner, who had just sat back on the sofa, took small steps, and approached slowly. The female owner immediately gave the command to stop. but it ignored her command. The female owner quickly stood up and walked over to suppress it. Even when restrained, it quietly approached again. The dog trainer came over to help at this point. The dog started barking at the approaching person, but the barking had changed compared to before. It was clearly scared and hid in the hallway without moving. When the female owner led the dog back to the living room, a new problem emerged. It sat on the sofa with the female owner. The dog trainer pointed out that the sofa is the central position in the home, and if the dog sits on the sofa, it means it dominates the center of the home, observing everyone in the family like an emperor. Moreover, the one sitting on the mother's lap should be the child, not the dog. The female owner's actions led to confusion in family hierarchy, making the dog think its status is higher than the baby's. This confusion makes it difficult for the dog to distinguish priorities. The female owner's actions are considered quite dangerous, so from now on, the dog is not allowed on the sofa, except with the owner's permission. If the dog attempts to jump on the sofa, the female owner needs to push it down. But Yudi, being very clever, managed to bypass both the dog trainer and the female owner, and jumped up from the other side. After successfully getting onto the sofa, Yudi started barking loudly at the dog trainer. The trainer quickly followed and took immediate suppression measures by directly getting on the sofa. The forced down dog began biting and nibbling the dog trainer. This is where the importance of the female owner came into play. She began to suppress the dog, and with each firm step, the dog would panic and retreat a few steps. However, the female owner's suppression didn't seem to be effective. The dog still followed her back. Seeing this, the dog trainer stepped forward to block again. This time, the dog exploded with its dissatisfaction. It continuously launched attacks towards the human it disliked. The confrontation between the dog and the trainer continued from the kitchen to the living room. Meanwhile, the female owner seized the opportunity accurately, immediately joining in to suppress the dog. Her attitude became much firmer than before. When the female owner told the dog to wait, even after she returned to the living room, the dog not only did not follow but also sat there quietly without moving. It was like a child being punished. Without the owner's consent, it stood there leaning against the wall without moving for more than 10 minutes. The training effect was achieved. After that, the dog trainer conducted crate training on the dog. Normally, dogs resist going inside a crate as they grow older, but today it went exceptionally smoothly. The female owner just threw in a few snacks and the dog eagerly went inside. The trainer mentioned that this is a method used on the dog because today the dog had a tough time and couldn't act as freely as usual. Going into the crate now gave it a sense of security and access to tasty food. This way it will develop a liking for going inside in the future. The training ended here. The trainer emphasized that when the baby is in the living room, the dog must also be in the crate for safety reasons, especially since the baby is still too young. It can be considered to let the dog out when the baby grows up. In the feedback video later on, the dog seemed to have improved on most issues. Everything is progressing in a positive direction.